Animals to me are a gift.
Yeah.
They are a gift. And if you have the privilege of raising them, then your life is better. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what is
Mhm.
going on. Why do you think that people have therapy animals? It's
Right.
because of what they literally calm our nervous system.
Hey, I'm Emma, and welcome to Human Animals, the podcast where we explore the deep, complex, and often surprising relationships between people and the animals that share our world. In each episode, I'll invite a guest to dive into the bonds that unite us with the creatures we live alongside. Whether they are big or small, pets or wildlife, we'll unpack the ways animals shape our lives and challenge our understanding of what it means to be human. Join me on this journey where every episode is a reflection of the ties that bind us all. The guest for this episode is someone I had to have on. Funny enough, I have been on her podcast, the Pet Pig Podcast, twice to talk about my CBD business and life with pigs in general. So when I thought about a guest, I knew she would be perfect for this. Autumn Whitacre runs Autumn Acres, mini pet pigs, where she lives with her husband and two boys on a small homestead in Ohio. They raise a variety of animals, including a milk cow, goats, chickens, and of course, pigs. Her farm and work with pigs serves a bigger purpose by providing education and resources to pig owners and contributing to the pig community. She is passionate about helping people understand pig behavior and how to care for their pigs in ways that honor their natural instincts. She aims to support pig owners in creating happy and healthy lives for their pigs while also fostering a deep appreciation for these incredible animals. This is something I really love about her. In this episode, we get into that and so much more about the connection and the ways of life being on a homestead brings. So please enjoy. Fun fact, I have my own small business called Miko's Choice, which is the sponsor for this episode because it's my business, this is my podcast, and I can make the rules. In all seriousness though, Miko's Choice offers high quality CBD products for all animals, dogs, horses, pigs, cats, you name it, I have them covered. I used my background in animal science and cannabis to bring these products to life, and am beyond thrilled to see how they help improve animal health and wellness. They're also inspired by my personal animals and my own journey through breaking my back, recovering, and getting my dog through cancer. So there's a lot of love behind this business. Feel free to check it out at mikoschoice.com and use code HUMANANIMALS for a discount. If you have any questions, email me anytime, info@mikoschoice.com. That's MIKKOSCHOICE. Thanks. Okay, thanks so much for coming on. This is so exciting.
I'm excited too. I'm your first guest.
Yes, you are.
Oh, awesome. I love it. This is my first time being a guest on a podcast.
Really?
Yeah, usually I'm the host,
That's
but
true.
this is way better.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun. Yeah, that's the reason that I wanted to have you on is because obviously I've been on your podcast before about pigs, the Pet Pig podcast, which was so fun. And we talked all about, me and my business and my pigs, but now I just wanted to talk to you about your experience with pigs.
I love it. I can talk about my pigs all day.
Perfect. I know, me too, right? Um, so I just want to start out by understanding, for the listener, what is Autumn's Acres?
I am a huge pig lover, right? I mean, I've loved pigs since I could walk, you know. I was always, every time I could pick something out, it was always pig shaped. Every growing up, all my friends had posters of New Kids on the Block or In Sync, and I had posters of pigs on my walls, pig everything, everything. Anytime somebody got me a gift, it was always pig related. So I've always wanted one. And I asked my parents when I was young, could I have one? They were
Hmm.
like, heck no. So I lived in a blended family. So I had lots of siblings who were, half or step, and we were gone every other weekend to our other parents' houses. So my parents were like, no, we can't do pets.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fish. That's all I ever had growing up.
Oh.
So I said, well, I'm never going to marry a man unless he lets me get a pig. And I got really lucky. on our first anniversary, and this was in 2004, I happened to be in a little pet shop with
Mhm.
one of my friends. She liked to take her kids to go see the pets, the animals there, the puppies and the kittens. And
Mhm.
of course, we know today pet shops are not great.
Yeah.
At the time, they were a big thing and they
Hmm.
were, very common. So we just went one day and there was this little piglet.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I cannot leave here without this piglet. Now, he was tiny. I kid you not. He literally fit across the palm of my hand. He was
Whoa.
way too young to be away from his mother. Of course, I
Okay.
didn't know that,
Right, right.
but he was my baby. I called my husband and I said, I found this little piglet and I don't think I can leave. He cost $100.
Mm.
Can I please get him? And he's like, okay, that's fine. We
Uh,
were newly married.
yeah.
We both worked. We both worked part-time. And so we didn't have a ton of money.
Hmm.
And I used the rest of our money to buy him. So, but when I got home, my husband was in the shower and I put him down on the floor. We named him Oscar and he
Mhm.
toddled into the bathroom. And my husband was
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, he's so cute.
So
Like,
cute.
so cute. So Oscar unfortunately did not live very long.
Mm.
He lived 2.5 years. In the morning, one morning, I found him. He had passed away and he had
Mm.
hemorrhaged. So there was
Whoa.
blood everywhere. And
Whoa.
I was absolutely devastated. A few years later, I found out that the woman who ran the pet shop and who supplied a lot of the animals
Hmm.
was horrendous to her animals. She went to
Mm.
prison for her mistreatment of animals.
Wow.
She's still there.
Whoa.
That's
Okay.
how bad it was.
Wow.
Um, so she had inbred all of her pigs, but because
Mhm.
everybody's obsessed with a tiny pig.
Yeah.
And Oscar did not grow. He did not grow. He was very small. He
Huh.
didn't get bigger than a cat.
Wow.
And everybody said, "Oh, wow, that you're doing great. You're doing great." I didn't know. I had
Hmm.
no
Yeah.
idea what I was doing.
Right.
There was no internet in 2003, 2004,
Mm.
2005. So I did the research I could at books at the library.
Right.
But after that, through the years, I rescued a lot of pigs from like when Facebook became a thing and people wouldn't want
Mm.
their pig anymore. So they would put it on
Mhm.
Facebook Marketplace. And
Mhm.
my husband would be like, there's another one, just go get it. So I did. I would
Okay.
just go get it. We lived in the country and we had just a tiny little, like we had backyard chickens where we had laying hens for eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband built me this little space so that I could keep any pigs I wanted. I could keep them in this
Oh.
beautiful little outdoor space. I had just had a baby, so we didn't bring them in the house,
Mm-hmm.
but they got big. They got real big. And through the years, we just had them outdoors and we loved them and we would let them out when we were outside and they would stick with us and
Mm-hmm.
but pigs have always been my true love. I
Oh.
love pigs. And
Oh.
I've learned so much over the years.
Yeah.
From Oscar, especially, I learned so much, mostly of what not to do.
Yes.
And then gosh, I don't even know. It was like in 2015, I think. My husband and I decided to move to be close to his family, and we were building our house, and building a house is expensive, and I mean, we don't have a lot of money. Like
Mm-hmm.
we did everything as cheaply as possible when
Mm-hmm.
building our house. We did everything ourselves that we could.
Yeah.
So we were almost done, and he said, Autumn, I think you're going to have to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was panicking because I had two little boys. I
Mm-hmm.
homeschooled them.
Mm-hmm.
I have always felt very strongly that I don't want someone else raising my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what am I going to do? And my father-in-law said, you know what, Autumn, you love pigs. You should get back into that. Why don't you try breeding? I'm like, I don't know anything about breeding pigs. Why would I breed pigs? And he's like, Autumn, you learn. I'm like, okay, okay. Well, I do know a lot about pig behavior because I've had
Mm-hmm.
quite a few in my life.
Yeah.
So let's give it a shot. So that's where Autumn Makers came from. It literally came from just my true love of pigs
Mm.
and needing to do something that supported my family while also giving my children an incredible education on
Yeah.
animals, on Oh my gosh. I mean, when something happens and we lose a piglet, we just lost a little piglet the other day, and
Yeah.
I I'm crying. My husband is crying. My
Mhm.
children, my 16-year-old
Mhm.
old boy and my 11-year-old boy are crying. Like
No.
they have such a tender heart when it comes to animals because
Mhm.
they've been so immersed in it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. That's something that I wanted to touch on as well is that relationship that your kids have with the animals and the work that you do because, I follow you online, obviously, and you
Yeah.
do share about them like milking the cow and taking care of the piglets and things like that. So you already kind of touched on it, but I'd like to dive in a little bit deeper about how you think being around this lifestyle, seeing animals be born, passing away, taking care of them every day. How do you think that's influenced their relationship with animals and just like growing up and the childhood experience in general?
What a great question. So I can definitely see a difference from when we just had that little, chicken coop
Hmm.
back, backdoor chicken coop.
Yeah.
Um, my boys have always loved them. They always loved them, and I keep them with me through the whole process. So they come and help us pick out the chicks.
Yeah.
And they come and they help with feed and they help with water and
Hmm.
they helped build the chicken coop and they help with,
Mm.
putting the bedding down, all of these things. I try to keep them very, very involved.
Yeah.
The fact that my kids can be homeschooled, I know is a privilege, and I love that we've been able to do that because we've been able to foster in them, like build on those things that they love.
Mm.
Preston, who is my 16-year-old,
Mhm.
loves Joel Salatin. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't.
Okay. Joel Salatin is like the father of soil health.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like he raises food, he raises animals for food,
Hmm.
but he talks a lot about how the animals are treated.
Hmm.
He talks about how they like having good husbandry towards them, how
Hmm.
they need to be happy, how you need
Yeah.
to really put a lot of care and a lot of thought into how you're raising them. And
Hmm.
your soil health is one of the ways that you do that. Because
For
if your
sure.
soil is healthy, your animals will be healthy.
Definitely. Yeah.
So because he's homeschooled, we've been able to really like we're all going to Polyface Farms in May of 2025 for a 2-day workshop that they're doing. And it's just about homesteading, all the
Hmm.
different aspects of homesteading. But my 16-year-old is reading books by Joel Salatin about soil health. Okay, that's not that's not really a normal topic when it
Yeah.
comes to teenage boys.
Uh-huh.
But because he is such a part of, we make our kids part of our decisions.
Hmm.
Now, when we decided to get a milk cow, that was his idea.
Okay.
I was like, what? I don't know anything about a milk cow. How are we going to get a milk cow?
Yeah.
But he found a workshop that was
Wow.
about an hour away from us.
Hmm.
So we went and did that and we learned. And I thought, okay, we can do this.
Hmm.
And so now, you know, my kids have chores, they have jobs they do every day.
Yeah.
And when we have one of those days where maybe, it's cold and rainy here in
Sure.
Ohio and they don't really want to go do those chores,
Hmm.
we remind them these animals depend on us.
Yeah.
Without us, they go hungry or they go thirsty.
Hmm.
How would you feel if that was you? If you depended on someone to get up at the crack of dawn, bring you your breakfast, make sure you
Hmm.
have clean water. How would you feel if that person was just like, I just don't feel like doing this today?
Right.
Right? It's not an option. It's
No.
not an option. We
Hmm.
take care of our animals, and our animals come first,
Yep.
and then we come second. All of our animals are fed before we eat breakfast.
Exactly.
So that's helped them to have a positive view of their chores and taking care of the animals.
Mm.
And they're not perfect. Kids are going
Sure,
to
they're
say things like,
16.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
16 and 11,
Right.
which are both hard ages.
Totally.
So I think that had my kids gone to school, I feel like a lot of that would have been kind of pulled out of them. It would
Hmm.
have changed who they were as individuals because,
Hmm.
school preaches a lot about, higher learning and you got to focus on this sport and you got to focus on this sport and you have so much homework, you don't have time for other things.
Right.
I never wanted my kids to be raised by someone else. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I am their biggest influence as their mother, and that's how it should be. It
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be some teacher or some other kids that I don't know what their morals are.
Right.
So just the fact that my kids have been raised around animals, I think has shaped who they are now and will continue to shape who they are as adults.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. Growing up, I was an equestrian, but I also lived in the middle of LA, and I would go out to the outskirts in the mountains, and that was how I was introduced to horses, and it was the same thing. Like you have to take care of them first, and then you can ride them and quote unquote enjoy them that way. And I think about it here too, on this little farm that I have. I was just thinking about the other day while I was thinking about what we were going to talk about, how here too, like that mentality of taking care of them first, I still have it today. All these years later, when I start the day, I'm like, okay, these are the things that I have to do, basic necessities for the day. And from there, we can have fun, we can go on a
Mhm.
trail ride or whatever. But these core things, like you said, need to get done every day.
Mhm.
And I think that's such an important lesson and something that animals just innately teach people because you have to.
Absolutely. It helps a lot with the selfishness that we're all born with.
Hmm.
Children are very selfish. Teenagers
Hmm.
are very selfish. It's hard for them to kind of see others' perspective or what others are going through or be empathetic or sympathetic. It's hard
Hmm.
for them to do that. They have to be taught how to do that.
Yeah.
Some kids are just innately that way,
Hmm.
but especially my 16-year-old, he has to be taught those things. And so involving him seeing the care when he sees a problem, maybe
Hmm.
one of our animals is sick,
Yeah.
or he sees me and I'm getting up 4, 5, 6 times in the night to check on piglets, or
Mhm.
I'm down there hand feeding because we have a runt that is too small to latch onto mom or something like that. He
Yeah.
sees the care we take.
Hmm.
And so I can see a huge difference in a couple years ago when he
Hmm.
really didn't have a lot of empathy till
Hmm.
now. And I think animals have been the major key player in making him that way.
And
So
how
I'm
do you
sorry.
think? No, it's okay. How do you think that they've taught him that empathy?
How exactly
I know it's a hard thing to kind of like really,
pinpoint?
yeah.
Hmm.
But this is like one of the things that I want to explore with this podcast is like we all sort of generally have these ideas of relationships with animals, but like let's dive a little bit deeper and like what is it really? Like is it knowing that you have to get up in the middle of the night to take care of this little runt because otherwise he's not going to make it? And you just like
Hmm.
feel for him. Like I remember all of your stories with Johnny, the little guy.
Yes.
Um, and just the level of care that's needed is so intense and it's so selfless because they need you.
Hmm.
They
Yep.
really do.
Hmm. And I definitely think that's part of it.
Hmm.
The fact that someone else's life depends on you, the fact that if you don't do it, it doesn't get done.
Hmm.
Like those are big things that have helped my boys to be such hard workers.
Yeah.
And then too, like, because we have kept them involved in the decisions,
Hmm.
are we going to get a milk cow or not? Who votes yes? And then once we decide to move forward, we all have to be in.
Hmm.
So we, I think that's part of it. And the way that we run our homestead a lot is who's interested in what.
Mm.
So we this summer we're taking a workshop on small ruminants because when it comes to sheep and goats, especially sheep, their manure is really good for the soil. It puts
Yeah.
a lot of minerals back in the soil. So we
Hmm.
would like to add a couple sheep
Hmm.
to our pastures and rotate them, rotational graze them,
Yeah.
um, either ahead or behind our cows. I'm not sure where they go before or after. We'll
Hmm.
learn.
Yeah.
But that's the reason that we're thinking about getting sheep is because JP, my 11-year-old,
Hmm.
is interested in that right now.
Okay.
So the milk cow Preston was interested in,
Hmm.
and now JP is interested in the small ruminants. So I think that keeps them excited.
Hmm.
Whereas if we brought something in and we're like, this is what we're doing, they they're not involved in the decision. They're not
Mm-hmm.
involved, they didn't have any choice in the matter. Now they're forced to do chores.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it different
That
when
is
it's
a
something they want.
really, yeah, that's a really good distinction. Hmm. And do they help each other with like the other's interests, you know? Like let's say, Preston's more interested in the cow, but maybe sometimes he has to help with the sheep. Like, do you think he would, or would
Mhm.
he feel that difference of like, oh, these sheep, like they're my younger brothers? Or do you think he'd be like, okay, I'll help you?
I think it's a little of both.
Uh-huh.
And I think it probably depends on the day and the mood.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they do pretty good about helping each other. Preston works 3 days a week. He works two doors down for my sister-in-law. She's a dog trainer.
Mm.
So he works there for her training dogs and helping her
Hmm.
3 days a week. And he starts at 8 a.m. So on those mornings, he can't milk.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where JP and I step up. We do the milking on those days.
Mm-hmm.
And then too, like I really do try to be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
When we have a calf, we calf share so that, you know what, if there's a morning where we have a blizzard
Mm-hmm.
or we're busy or, we got to run out of the house or we're all tired or we're all sick,
Mm-hmm.
then that's okay because the calf can still be with her. So we don't
Right.
have to milk that morning. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to be reasonable. Like I'm not a drill sergeant. Like we have a milk cow, we milk every morning at 5 a.m. We
Yeah.
don't do it like that. We try to make the homestead work for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we try, like, if pressed, we had a rough, I forget what month it was. I think it was August. We were all sick and we were all sick.
Ugh.
It was one person got it for 1 week, then the next person for the next week. So
Yeah.
we were all bam, bam, bam. And
Mm-hmm.
so when someone is sick, we all try to step up and help.
Mm.
My husband doesn't do a whole lot. He does all the major stuff, like he goes and gets the hay that we need. He does the building and the fencing, fence making, and all that stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to everyday chores, he works a full-time job, so he's not really here.
Sure.
But when someone is sick, he always steps up. He
Mm.
always steps up and helps. And we try to set up our homestead so that chores are more flexible. And I
Yeah,
think that helps too,
it does.
especially for teenagers who like their sleep.
Yes.
And if they have a day off, they don't want to get up at 7 o'clock. So
Sure.
I try to be reasonable about those things.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful too. And that's how I've set things up here too, is just that flexibility is so important. And I think allows you to enjoy it more, just like you're seeing with them. Because it's super easy. I see and hear people all the time be like, oh, I have to go do these chores, and they complain about it and it's a negative thing, but it doesn't have to be.
Yep, you're right. And that's, I think, another thing that is such a huge point is the fact that I try to keep my attitude very positive.
Hmm.
Okay, guys, come on, let's go milk the cow instead of, oh my gosh, all right, let's go get this done. This
Right.
is so annoying, but we
Yeah.
actually think of our cow as a gift
Hmm.
because what we get from her is incredible.
Yeah.
First of all, when she has a calf, they produce gallons and gallons of colostrum.
Hmm.
So what I do is after the calf has eaten, then I go and I milk some of that colostrum and I put it in the freezer just in case we have another baby on the farm that is struggling.
Hmm.
That colostrum has saved four piglets.
Oh, wow.
Four because they weren't able to get their mom's colostrum.
Yeah.
So for me, that alone is worth
Hmm.
all the effort that it takes to keep Lucy,
Yeah.
our milk cow.
Yeah.
But then with her milk, we bring in gallons. If we milk every day, we would have like probably more than
So
10
much.
gallons in the fridge. We probably have close
Yeah.
to 14 gallons of milk in the
Yeah.
fridge. So we don't milk every day. But
Hmm.
the the amount of things we can do with that, we can make whipped cream,
Hmm.
butter,
Hmm.
cheese, ice cream, yogurt,
Mm.
kefir. I
Yeah.
mean, you name it, we can make it. It tastes so much better than store-bought.
Oh, yeah.
So just her alone, we're like she to us is a gift. So we
Hmm.
try to treat her like a princess, which she likes to be treated
Of
like
course.
a princess. But my attitude when it comes to chores rubs off on them.
Yeah, naturally.
And then if they have a bad attitude or they're negative about something, I try to remind them. Now remember, think about, okay, no, you don't want to go milk the cow today because it's raining and
Hmm.
it's cold, but remember, when we milk the cow, think about all the wonderful things we can do with that milk.
Right.
So attitude is, I think, is big. It rubs off on your kids, even if it doesn't
Yes.
seem like it does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And even if you don't have kids and you just have, a partner or people around you, it rubs
Yes.
off on them as well. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And I think also there's a degree to like the animals feel that energy,
Yes.
and I've heard so many, like I've never had a milk cow, but I've milked them before on a ranch that I worked at. And it's really interesting to see the relationship because they totally have a relationship with the person who milks them,
100%.
and
Yes.
like they don't like some people. And you got
Yeah.
to wonder, why is that?
That is so true. So, as an example, Lucy, our milk cow, she loves me.
Mm,
She loves me. If
mhm,
I walk out to the pasture with a bucket, she is right in the stanchion. She has no
mm,
trouble.
mhm,
Preston, who loves her and loves milking and loves all that stuff, well,
mhm.
he's a boy
Yeah.
and he's not always gentle.
Mm.
He just gets right in there.
Oh,
And
sure.
whereas I'm super gentle, I
Right.
stock the manger
Mm-hmm.
full.
Mm-hmm.
I wipe if she's dirty or has any mud on her. I take a bucket of warm water out. I wipe her down.
Mm-hmm.
I brush her.
Oh,
I put her tail, I kind of like tie it to the side in
yeah.
uh like a with a rope because otherwise she hits me in the face and it
Sure.
hurts.
Yeah.
And so I do that. And so I'm slow and I'm
Mm-hmm.
calm and I'm kind of quiet. Like if I'm out
Yeah.
there by myself, I'm just kind of quiet. So I
Yeah.
sit down, I clean her. I'm very gentle to get started.
Mm.
Boys are just a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
They just want to get in there and get it done. And
Right.
so he is not her favorite milker.
Mm.
Sometimes she will not let milk down for him.
Yeah. I mean, isn't
So,
that crazy? Like
yes,
they will not let the milk down at
it's
all because they're just like,
unbelievable.
no, I don't like this environment right now.
It's amazing. They're able to hold, not only can they hold all their milk back,
Hmm.
they can also choose to hold back the cream and
Wow.
just give you the thin stuff,
Oh my
which is
God.
it's insane. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. So, like, we can go down, and some days, especially if I milk with Preston, we have to
Hmm.
work really hard for that milk. My hands are
Hmm.
hurting, my
Yeah.
arms are hurting, my back is hurting. We're working really hard for it. But then some days I go down and I'm like, okay, that was literally minutes, and I'm overflowing the bucket.
Huh. And
So
it's just you.
it's just me.
Wow.
Mhm. She prefers
Wow.
me. She's okay with JP. JP's pretty gentle, but I'm still training him. He's
Hmm.
11.
Yeah.
But Preston is just, he's kind of like a bull in a china shop sometimes.
So how does he feel about that difference, especially since he's the one who wanted her?
Yep. Hmm.
You know,
It hurts his feelings.
yeah.
It hurts his feelings, but I tell him all the time, all you have to do to change this situation is slow down, be
Hmm.
calm,
Hmm.
stock the manger, treat her like a princess.
Hmm.
Have you ever had a cow of your own?
Not me personally, but I've worked on ranches with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Cows are unbelievable. You know what they remind me of? A pig. They're so stubborn.
Yeah.
You can't force them to do
No?
anything, not a
Hmm.
single thing. So you have to, just like with a pig, you have to make them think it's their idea, right?
Hmm.
You have to offer them a bribe that they think is
Yeah.
worthwhile of whatever you're asking them to do.
Hmm.
So their personalities crack me up.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's that simple fact alone that they can control their milk in those ways based on who's present and doing it is just so wild. And I think it's really telling about how sensitive they are, how emotionally intelligent they are.
Oh, yes.
And I think the average person has no idea about that, really.
No, no, I don't think so either. I had no clue before we brought her home.
Yeah.
No clue at all. But she's very sensitive and they're very food driven,
Hmm.
but they are sensitive. If we have company and she's nervous about them, she will not come over. Whereas if I stand at the fence line and call her name, she
Hmm.
comes right to me.
Sure.
But if there are people there she doesn't know, unless I have food,
Hmm.
she won't come. She's
Mm.
not interested in making friends with people that she doesn't know. It makes her nervous.
That's so incredible. Yeah. I have a lot of people I think who, well, I know who follow me on social media who live in cities and they don't have access to these types of animals. And I've certainly introduced people like that on ranches that I've worked at. And That's also part of the reason that I want to do this podcast is to share experiences like that with people because I really think it's so mind-opening. And I
Yes.
think animal lovers like understand that animals are deeply emotionally intelligent and have these relationships, but to pair it with a fact like that and something you can so clearly see is really just it's quite touching.
It really is. And when we offer farm tours,
Oh.
I offer where people come and they can sit with the piglets. And so we have people literally from all over the world that come and visit us.
Oh wow.
And I offer two kinds of tours. Do you just want a piggy tour or do you want a farm tour? Because in the farm tour, I can talk about, the life cycle of grass
Yeah.
and what cows. So, did you know this point about cows? I'd learned this not too long ago, and every time I include it in a tour, people are like, "That's crazy." So cows,
Hmm.
when you have ruminants or cows specifically on your pasture, on your
Hmm.
grass, when they bite the grass, they wrap their tongue around it and they break it off. Okay. So
Hmm.
horses bite the grass.
Right.
But the fact that a cow will wrap its tongue around the grass and tug on it
Hmm.
actually makes the roots stronger.
Oh,
That's
that
one
makes
thing.
sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Also, when a cow does that, it drools a little bit,
Hmm.
and the saliva in the bacteria in the saliva is a probiotic for the soil. So
Oh,
it builds and feeds the bacteria in the soil.
wow.
And then not only that, but their manure
Of course.
also does so much for the soil
Hmm.
because it has a lot of good bacteria in it.
Hmm.
So when you have ruminants on your pastures, on your land, the soil health just goes through the roof and it doesn't take very long.
Mm.
This land where we are used to be conventionally farmed. So they
Hmm.
sprayed pesticides. Gosh, they do it a lot.
I'm sure,
In
yeah.
one growing season, they spray
Yeah.
it a lot. So when we first moved here, even our grass didn't grow. Nothing grew
Oh,
except
wow.
those old ugly weeds,
Mm.
that those chemicals don't kill.
Hmm.
And now you would never know it to look at our pastures. They are so beautiful. Sometimes I just look at them like we've come so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah, you've done so much work. It's incredible.
So people love the farm tours. People love the piglet, sitting with piglets and
Yeah,
the pig tours. And I'm telling you, when we have people from the city, they don't want to leave.
I bet.
I used to do them for free. And
Hmm.
then I did them for a $50 one-time fee. And now I have to charge $50 an hour because people won't leave.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it. You're like, okay, so I have some chores to do.
Literally, the longest visit was 6 hours.
Whoa, oh my
And
gosh.
that's when I didn't charge at all. And it was
Mhm.
getting dark, and I was like,
Yeah,
I kind of have to go in and cook dinner now, you know?
right. Oh my gosh.
So, um, you guys keep looking around or go, whatever you
Right.
want to do.
But like,
But
maybe please go.
it's just that people literally they come, which I'm sure people do the same thing when they go to your house.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
come and they cannot pull themselves away. It
Yeah.
feels so good. It feels peaceful.
Hmm.
And to get to have the experience, like you said, like people don't get the experience to pet a cow,
They don't.
hold piglets. Even our
Hmm.
cats are super friendly and our dogs. So people are
Hmm.
like, this is like heaven.
No.
We have two goats that love people, and we just got a sheep. We inherited a sheep that
Okay.
we weren't expecting.
Hmm.
But I think that's why JP's so in love with his sheep now.
Mm.
So people come and they get to pet these animals that they've never interacted with before.
Yeah.
And you can see it on their faces. Some people get choked up. We have a lot of people who cry.
Oh.
It's just they literally, and kids. I have a friend who is a baker, and I started having her make me these little pig cookies to
Cute.
bribe kids to leave.
Oh
They
my
won't
gosh.
leave. They will not leave. I'm like, if you get in the van, I have a
Yeah.
treat for you.
Oh my God. So what do you think it is that just makes them break down and cry like that or have these intense reactions?
For a lot of people who come here, they've loved pigs their whole life.
Hmm.
They've never had the experience to pet one, maybe at the fair, those kinds of
Yeah.
things. but they've never had a piglet climb in their lap.
Mm.
And so when that happens,
Hmm.
and some of these women are like, we just had a visit not too long ago. The woman was in her 80s.
Wow.
It took three of us to get her down the stairs because my area is in the
Mm.
basement. So it took
Yeah.
three of us to get her down the stairs. And she just sat on the floor and cried the entire time. She barely
Oh,
said a word.
wow.
I talked to her granddaughter and her granddaughter's husband the whole time, and she just sat there. The piglets just kept climbing in her lap. She was overcome with like, this is what I've always wanted. This is
Hmm.
what I've always, but to go to the fair and pet a pig is a different experience than having
So different.
adorable little piglet climb in your lap and fall asleep.
Yeah.
So
So different.
it is, and I think a lot of it too is just coming here and it's a peaceful atmosphere.
Yeah.
Being outside with the pigs, you can watch them run and play and
Which
we have
is
a
so
cat.
fun, by the way.
It's
So
the
many
best.
people, like when I share videos of them running and playing, they're like, "Whoa, they're so fast! I didn't know they
They
could
are.
move like that." And it just like sparks this joy in people.
It really does. They're so entertaining. They're so funny. They're
Yes.
so comical. Like just
Yeah.
watching them run around and have zoomies and snort and
Mhm.
play and the peacefulness combined with all of those other things, I think people
Mhm.
just really feel it deeply.
Yeah.
So many people are very much caught up in just a fast-paced way of life. I
Yes.
get up, I eat my breakfast, I get my kids to school, I go to work, I come home, I
Mhm.
cook dinner, I get the kids to bed. Like
Right.
it's such a hectic schedule and it
Hmm.
really weighs on people's nervous system,
I
right?
think you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so to come here or to come to your place and just experience calm,
Yeah.
I think sometimes it really hits people like, this is what I want. You have no idea how many people come here and say, this is what I want. I want to live like this. I want this.
Mhm.
This is my dream. And I'm
Mhm.
going to start making it happen right now.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're so right. And I think it goes back to like way back in the day when we were living like this.
Yes.
When humans were living on little homesteads and we weren't going to grocery stores to get our food.
Hmm.
And, it took a lot of intention to
Dude.
to grow food and build houses and build friendships and connections and family. And it was really slow back then. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of that is tied into the way that you had to tend to animals and you had to tend to the land and
Hmm.
how those things gave back to you and you gave back to them and just like this wonderful, circular connection that so much of the world is missing now.
Hmm.
And maybe that's what it is. They come to a place like yours or mine and they just are able to feel that in some sense. Like
Hmm.
people go crazy for my chicken's eggs. It's
Yes.
just like such a simple little thing. I mean, it's not really when you like think about it, but just that little act of being like, "Hey, here's a dozen eggs."
Mhm.
People just are like so touched by that.
They are.
They really are.
Hmm. Yes. And I think you're right. You kind of sparked another point in my brain when you were
Yeah.
talking because I think the way life is right now and the way people used to live is so different.
Hmm.
I think about this all the time. When people had to live with intention and they really had to work hard to put food on the table,
Yeah.
there may not have been refrigeration.
Right.
So here they're having to can, they're having to smoke their meat, they're having to
Hmm.
dry things so that they can have it through the winter.
Hmm.
That was a way of life that was very busy. People were
Yeah.
very, very busy. Well, today we can go to the grocery store or we can, whatever, if you're going to go to a restaurant or whatever, get takeout.
Hmm.
We are surrounded by food. So
Yes.
there's not much intention
Hmm.
past what are we going to have for dinner, right?
True.
We have all these options.
Hmm.
People didn't have those. So another thing that we have kind of like rules in our house are that we don't let our kids have social media.
Mm.
Preston does have a social media account for the farm, but he's not very active on it because I don't want to fuel a phone addiction
Yeah.
to my boys. Driving in the car yesterday, I saw like six people in a row were
Hmm.
driving with their phone like
Oh
this.
boy.
I'm like,
Oh boy.
so it's bad when you can't even put your phone down to drive. There's
Yes.
something wrong, right? There's
Yes.
something wrong with that.
Yes.
So we don't let our kids have social media. They both have phones, but they're literally a phone.
Yeah.
And we all like to listen to audiobooks. So they listen to audiobooks on their phone, but that's what their phone is for.
Hmm.
We also don't watch a lot of TV.
Mm.
And if we do, like we love the Waltons, we love Little House on the Prairie. We
Hmm.
like to watch things that are wholesome.
Yeah.
They teach a lesson and they show kids what life used to be so they
Hmm.
can really appreciate what they have now, right? You're watching Little
Yeah.
House on the Prairie, but you can go to the refrigerator and get, cheese or,
Right.
whatever. So it helps a lot that our kids aren't involved in those things,
Hmm.
but also we're trying to provide a busy life because
Yes.
I figure if my kids are busy, then they can't get into trouble, right? Because I don't
Yes.
have time for that.
Right.
So I like that too. That's probably a part of our like our family ethic that
Hmm.
we try to stay away from social media. I wouldn't even be on social media if it weren't for my business.
Right. I know it's a hard give and take. I feel the same exact way. Like, obviously, I have social media as well. And I totally agree with you. I think people are too addicted to their phones. I think it creates separation in people, but then it's like
Mhm.
this hard dynamic of, okay, yes, I think these things, but also I'm part of it too.
Yes.
And it's a lot of like internal conflict that I have with this whole thing, truly. And like here I am starting a podcast, for like more people to like be on their devices. But my hope with this podcast is that it has some meaning to it,
Yes.
and it's not just like this mindless thing. Um, whether it's like providing some education or a deep connection or sparking some thoughts and conversation. So yeah, it's a hard.
But you know what I think? I think that when it comes to anything, social media, podcasts, even TV, there's we have two options. We could make entertainment for people that is like garbage, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
junk food, not garbage. Like it's like junk food.
Right.
Like it's just fueling it's just a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Or we can make we can make more of educational content.
Hmm.
Because I'll tell you what, my Instagram, I have learned so much from people on Instagram. I
Yeah.
feel like for me, if I do have 10 minutes to scroll, which I rarely do, but if I
Hmm.
do, I'm learning stuff. I love to
Yeah.
learn about making cheese. I love to learn about homesteading, about different animals. I love all of that stuff. So even about being a better parent,
Yeah.
being a better wife. I love to learn that kind of stuff. And so I choose when I am on social media to make it more of an educational experience. It's the same with
Yeah.
TV, like and
Right.
podcasts. I
Yeah,
don't
it's true.
listen to podcasts just to fill time. I'm learning something.
Mm.
So I think that what you're doing is a good thing.
Thanks. Well, yeah, I mean that's a very good point. I think it goes back to that intention, you know, is how are you using these things? How are you experiencing them? Because I do think that that plays a huge role in it.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's such a crazy world we live in.
It is. It is crazy. And I think where it's going is even crazier.
Yeah, I know.
But that is the nice thing, like about you and I kind of live in our own little paradise.
Hmm.
So during COVID, I felt so bad for people who couldn't even leave their apartment, right?
Yeah.
That people in big cities, they had nowhere to go. They're stuck in their apartment.
Hmm.
For us, and maybe I'm a little embarrassed to say, but also grateful that our life didn't change a whole lot.
I feel the same
You know,
way.
so, I mean, my husband is a basement waterproofer. He helps at a company, or he works at a company that does basement waterproofing. So
Mhm.
his work, he had a little time off, but he was working.
Yeah,
You know, there were emergency situations that he was working, so
sure.
it really didn't affect us much. If anything, being on lockdown made us realize how many things that we were doing that were not making us happy. You
Mm.
know, running and doing things and just doing and doing constantly. We were burnt out. So COVID taught us how to slow down
Mm.
and actually, we've only had our homestead since 2020. We
Okay.
started it and we made the decision before COVID
Mm-hmm.
hit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we actually decided to do it because we watched a documentary called The Biggest Little Farm. Have you
Oh
seen
yeah,
that?
yes, of course.
It is, I mean, we learned so much from that. And halfway through, I was like, pause it, pause it. And my husband's like, what? And I said, I want to do that. And he's like, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
So, so we just, COVID for us was a huge learning lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So we've changed our lives a lot since just being more intentional with what we want and how we spend our money and
Mm-hmm.
where we go. I don't know. It's changed a lot. Our
Yeah.
life has changed completely since
Mhm.
before COVID and for the better.
Yeah. Well, that's good. What was it like before? You said, like, were you on a property with animals then, or what did it look like?
I had a few pigs. I had my breeding program,
Okay.
but I only had a few pigs. We didn't have cows. We didn't have goats or sheep. We had one dog,
Mm-hmm.
and we had one cat. So we went for, and no chickens. We didn't have chickens then. So we just had about, less than 10 animals.
Okay.
And now we have more than 50.
Yeah.
So
And were you on the same property or did you move properties as well?
same property.
Okay.
But we had to put up all the infrastructure. So
Yeah.
the buildings and
Mm-hmm.
the fencing and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks completely different.
I bet.
My son found the Google photo from when we first moved into the house
Mm-hmm.
to now, and it doesn't even look like the same property. The house looks the same, but
Sure.
now we've
Everything
got
else.
buildings everywhere, and there's chickens free ranging everywhere, and cats. Now we have three cats and three dogs.
Mm.
So it's a lot more, but it's
Yeah.
keeps us busy. It's a
Mm-hmm.
good life. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very good life to be able to, I mean, it's just everything. It's like I look at my kids and I think, I taught you to read. You have my morals. You
Mm-hmm.
have my mannerisms.
Mm-hmm.
You learned to like reading because I always read to you, but you always see me reading. So you wanted to do what I was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
it starts there and then it's like they're hard workers. I
Yeah.
mean, Preston's 16. He could be in his room on his phone, but he's outside on the tractor clearing brush. Like,
Right.
what 16-year-old wants to go clear brush? Well, he does.
Yeah.
That's like his favorite thing to do.
Mm.
So it's so much the whole lifestyle together of being able to have your kids at home, being
Mm-hmm.
able to have animals. Who wakes up in the morning and thinks, I cannot wait to go feed my animals? I cannot wait to go milk my cow.
Yeah.
It brings so much joy and it's work, but it's very satisfying work.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work. Like here,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of animals too, and all these responsibilities, and it's really just me doing it. And a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, how do you like manage all of these animals, and, like these different species and all their needs?" And also, my dad brought up this point. He was like, "Okay, so it's just amazing that you do like the physical chores every day that you need to be doing, but then also on a different level, like." You relate to each animal.
Mm.
Like in each interaction, like there are a few moments of like, hey, how are you? What are you doing? Like, let's check
Yes.
in, let's like cuddle a little bit, or like, let's go do this thing together. And a lot of people just see all that and they're like, oh my God, how could you possibly make all of this work? Like, aren't you stressed? How do you have time for this?
Oh.
And it's just what you said. It's like, it's not work, actually.
Hmm.
Um, it's pretty amazing. And I don't have a problem like doing all this stuff by myself,
Hmm.
Like, why'd enjoy it?
Seeing the animals every day, and when I call an animal and they come to me,
Mhm.
I mean, the trust, the love, you can see it in their eyes. They're not going to come to you if they don't love and trust you, right?
Right.
So the fact that I have earned all of these animals' trust, even our chickens approach us. Like,
Yeah.
we love our animals. We love them so much. And
Hmm.
we put the time in. Not all animals are easy, especially a new calf. We're working with her right now.
Yeah.
And we just try to look at it instead of as work, like we're building a relationship,
It is
right?
really, it's all relationships,
Mhm.
just like my dad said, it's how do you all relate to each other? And all the animals on your farm that you have, they all have their relationships. They all relate to each other in different ways. And it's so interesting to see all those dynamics between
Mhm.
them, between you and them all around, and how that all shifts and affects them. And yeah, it's pretty special to walk outside and like I'll just start talking, like if I'm like talking to someone or if I'm on the phone, and my pigs like hear that and they just come
Uh-huh.
running, and it's like I didn't even call you, but they just
Yes. Yep.
came
They
up.
want to see what's going on. They're
Yeah,
curious.
yeah.
And yes, and I was thinking too, like, my grandmother passed away, who
Mm,
I really loved, in August, and I was so sad,
yeah.
for like several weeks. And so it always seems like on my worst days when I'm kind of dreading having to do the things, do the
Hmm.
hard things,
Hmm.
those are the days that my animals step up and bring me the most joy.
Yeah.
So maybe they're being silly, or
Hmm.
maybe they're doing something so cute, or maybe they can't move on with their day until I actually like say something to them,
Yeah.
right? I
Right.
acknowledge them. Like
Right.
they can't move on with their day until one
Hmm.
of my goats is like that. If I walk by her and I don't say hello,
Hmm.
she baws and baws and baws. Like she will not be quiet. But if I say hello, then she can
Hmm.
move on with her day. And so it's things like that that I'm just like, animals to me are a gift.
Yeah.
They are a gift. And if you have the privilege of raising them, then your life is better. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what is
Mhm.
going on. Why do you think that people have therapy animals? It's
Right.
because of what they literally calm our nervous system.
Hmm.
So if you have them, don't treat them like a chore. Treat them like what they are, and that's family.
Right.
And they deserve that love and attention. And
Hmm.
if you put the time in, they will give you so much more than you could ever imagine.
Yeah. I think people find that so surprising with pigs, especially, I mean, people think about like
Yes.
dogs and cats, and I always knew because of my work with pigs in school, and working on farms and stuff, that there was a component to them being emotionally attuned and like they were just like there's something like quote unquote different about them, but I could never like really say what that was. And to this day, I'm still kind of like, yeah, like what is it really, Until I had them like living in my house with me, and it's just a whole different experience. And people who come over who are not around pigs because why would they be?
Right.
They also have the same reaction like, wow, this is incredible. Like they are so attuned, they're so expressive,
Mhm.
they're so like involved, but they're
Mhm.
also like their own individual being and they can like do their own thing at the same time and they just like do something to people as
They
you've
really
seen.
do. They
Yeah.
really do. And nothing makes me happier than when someone gets a piglet from me. They've wanted one their whole life. They take it home, and I get the most incredible updates, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me speechless and it actually chokes me up because the fact that I know that something I do brings other people so much happiness, I
Mhm.
actually get the opportunity to make people's dreams come true.
Yeah.
And while also setting them up for success, because I
Right.
want
That
them to
is,
succeed.
yes. That's something that I think is really important about what you do. Because I think a lot of people have conflicting feelings about breeding any animal in
Yeah.
general, right? Which I totally understand. But I think what's really unique about what you do is how you set people up for that. If you want to talk about it a little bit, what that is exactly, because I think that's a huge part in whatever animal you get, making sure you do it responsibly. And pigs are one of those things that, yeah, people don't know a lot about or
Yes, you're
what
so
it's going to
right.
be like.
Yes, you're so right. Because they just think it's going to be like a dog,
Right.
but it's nothing like a dog.
I know. I find it so hard to explain what
Yeah.
it's like. Like I've sort of landed on like it's like having a puppy and a toddler at once.
Oh, yeah. That's
Like,
good.
like I don't, yes, I'm curious to see how you would explain it to somebody.
Usually what I tell people is it's like babysitting someone's baby that you've never babysat before. So you're like,
Ah.
okay, how do I change a diaper? Okay, where are the diapers? And which way does this go? It's like everything feels backwards, everything feels foreign. So it's nothing like a dog, it's nothing like a cat, it's more like a human baby.
Mm.
And especially like some of it, like a mom, I'd be like, oh, well, my baby wasn't that bad. Well, it's like watching someone else's baby that you don't know, and you're
Yeah.
trying to calm it down and take care of it, and you know nothing about them.
Yeah.
So getting an education beforehand is really helpful. And yes, I know that people hate breeders, and there's a lot of breeders I hate too.
Hmm.
Um, I think to me, there are several aspects to it.
Yeah.
So someone could just be a breeder, right?
Mhm.
Trust me, it doesn't take much to get pigs to breed. Okay. I have
Yeah.
one of my females will walk through fire to get to a boar. Okay. They they're very good at what they do, really.
Hmm.
And they are because they're emotional, they also build relationships with the males. And so like
Hmm.
I let them see through a fence. Most of it is metal
Hmm.
because they can mate through a fence, and I
Yeah.
don't want to have any accidental litters at the wrong
Right.
time for the female, not for me, but for her. We got to give her body time to, bounce back and be healthy and all that stuff. You should see, they lay right next to the fence, right by each other. They
No.
love each other. They want to be
Yeah.
together. So
Yeah.
it's not like people are always like, you force them. I'm like, I don't have to do nothing. All I do is open the gate and they're like, I love you,
Finally.
It
Yeah.
finally, yes.
Yeah.
So breeding to me is a huge responsibility
Yeah.
because first of all, you have your animals that you love and care for, but also every single baby that is born here, I take full responsibility for because it was a decision that I made for them to
Yeah.
come into the world.
Right.
So I have to make sure that I am not contributing to the huge problem of overflowing rescues and sanctuaries.
Yes.
Not one of my pigs has ever ended up in a rescue to my knowledge.
Mm.
Now, I do have a contract with everyone who gets one of my pigs that if they
Mhm.
can't keep it, they are legally bound to bring it back to me.
That's good.
That being said, if I
Yeah.
don't know, I don't know. But
Right. Right.
that's, I mean, that's usually people are like, "Oh, good,
Hmm.
good.
Hmm.
I'm glad
Yes.
I'm not going to have to do the effort of
Right.
finding a home and all of that stuff."
That's a good
So,
point. Yeah.
yeah. So, whenever someone is interested in a piglet, they
Hmm.
have to fill out an application. And on the application, I ask questions like, "Have you always wanted a pet pig?"
Hmm.
Because if this is a whim because you follow me on Instagram and you saw the cute little piglet available, I'm not interested in you
Right.
because you're doing this on a whim and you have not prepared properly.
Hmm.
So after they get through the application process, then we have a conversation. And sometimes that conversation is on the phone, and sometimes that conversation is email or text, whatever's better for them.
Hmm.
Calling people sometimes makes them nervous nowadays.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm like, okay, we can text. That's fine.
Yeah.
I like it best when they come here. Because
Mm.
when they come here, then they can see the adult pigs and they can see how big they're going to be. And they
Yeah.
can interact with the babies and I can tell stories and they can meet my pig. And
Hmm.
so, like all these things, I'm able to answer all their questions.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if they make it through the process and they send a deposit, then the first thing I do is I send them a course I created. It only takes about maybe an hour and a half to go through the whole thing.
Hmm.
It's called Preparing for a New Piglet.
Mm.
And so it is a checklist and it's like an outline, I guess. It's a video of me talking and
Hmm.
it's all the things they need to know before they bring their piglet home.
Mm.
And a lot of it is on behavior, but also a lot of it is on diet and nutrition because
Yes.
people either want to overfeed or underfeed and they don't
Right.
understand what a healthy pig looks like.
Right.
So I talk a lot about that. Also, anyone who gets a piglet from me, I am like their best friend. So they can text or call me anytime.
Hmm.
Anytime they have a problem, an issue, I will help them. Always. I also, I have a lot of free resources. So I have my YouTube channel, I have my
Hmm.
podcast, I have my social media accounts. I also have other courses and paid things that I've created. So I also offer like a Zoom consultation with people. And
Mhm.
I've had the most incredible consultations with people in South Africa,
Whoa.
Thailand,
Whoa.
Hungary, like all
Wow.
over the world, several in Canada.
Huh.
So it has been so fun to meet people from all over the world. I love doing those because usually when people finally decide to do one, they're on the verge of rehoming their pig because they're
Um,
having major behavior problems.
yeah.
So then when I'm able to explain why these things are happening and
Hmm.
how to fix them, then
Hmm.
I've only had one person in all the consultations I've done, one person who rehomed their pig. And it was more
Wow.
of like a circumstances. It wasn't the pig's behavior anymore.
Hmm.
So it's pretty amazing to be able to provide resources for pig owners.
Yeah,
Um, I I get a lot of flack because I am a breeder,
I'm sure.
but I will say I only have 4 litters a year at the most. This year we had two.
That's not
Like
that much. Yeah.
I don't push my pigs to breed if they're not ready. And I just also I think being a breeder has given me insight into the pig world that even a lot of vets don't have.
A lot of vets don't know a lot about
Yeah,
pigs.
they don't know much.
Yeah.
They don't know much. Yeah, it can be pretty frustrating when people are like, I took my pig to the vet and they told me to feed this food and you said that that food's not good. And I'm like, okay, this is your decision.
Right.
Here's my research and my backing,
Mm-hmm.
but your vet is probably getting a kickback.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you can, choose what you want. Change their
Sure.
food. See how
Right.
it affects their body.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So, so it's cool. And I also get a lot of insight not only on behavior, but for like how do you help the runt that is struggling and it's not
Yeah.
thriving? I've
Right.
been very successful at being able to do that. So now I can coach other people who are
Mm-hmm.
going through that same issue.
Yeah, that's a really hard one. I don't know if you
Mhm.
can hear, but my pig Patrick is about to enter the podcast. Can you see him at the
Welcome.
door?
Oh, there he is. Yep.
Patrick?
I see him.
Hi,
Hey,
buddy.
Patrick.
What are you doing?
He wagged his tail.
What you doing, big man? Oh, I know. I moved. Talk about being sensitive. I moved this like little dresser thing over here, and he's like, "Well, that wasn't there yesterday."
Yeah. How dare you move
Why would
around
you do
something in his
that?
house?
I know. It's very shocking. Yeah, it's very shocking. Yeah, I just love it. They have free reign to like be outside however much they want, and then they come in and they check in, and it's probably nap. Yep, it's about nap time right now for them. So
Oh, yeah.
that's what he's got a little bed in here, so that's probably what he's about to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cute. Okay, well, this has been great. We covered a lot of things that I didn't expect, which is awesome. I wanted to get into talking about your cow, and I'm so glad we did, and how your relationship is with your family and your kids and the animals, because I just think that's so important and pretty unique, I think, in this day and age.
Mhm.
And just really great to like highlight and touch on. One thing that I thought would be fun for this podcast, because like each podcast has like maybe like a little thing that they do,
Yeah.
um, is at the end to ask the person, what's like one fun fact about pigs that you think people should know?
Piglets are born with little pads over their hooves.
I saw that the other day. Yes, I've seen pigs be born before, but I never noticed those.
It's hard if the piglet is little, it's very hard to see, especially like if they're born in straw or some rough material because it
Um,
comes off so easily,
oh, okay.
right? I mean, like it's barely just holding on by the time they're born and it just
Yeah.
falls off really fast.
Mm,
So it's there to protect the mother, like the inside of their sac.
yeah.
It's there to protect the birth canal as the piglet is coming out. And
Hmm.
it's just made of cartilage.
Mm.
So, but it's real soft and it is the most incredible thing. I think every time we have a litter, I take a picture because I'm like, this is so amazing.
Yes.
Just falls off soon after. And piglets, if you ever get the opportunity to see piglets be born,
Oh, yeah, I
um,
have. Yeah.
it is it's literally, it will blow your mind,
Yeah.
especially if you have seen puppies or kittens born.
Hmm.
Piglets are born with teeth. They're born with their eyes open. They're born with their ears open. They're born, not only can they walk, but they can run.
Mm.
As prey animals,
They have to.
they have to. And a mother pig doesn't do much to support her piglets. She feeds them and she will protect them. But other than that, she doesn't really do much to help them.
Yeah.
So they have to be able to be independent and be able to follow her.
Mm. Yeah,
That's
it's
something a
incredible.
lot of people don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that. I saw it's funny. I saw the pads the other day on your story and I was like, wait, how have I never noticed that? But it also makes so much sense because hooved animals inside, you don't
Yes.
want them to tear things. And horses' feet they don't have a like what you shared is it's quite literally like if you're listening, it almost looked like a little bubble on the end of
Yes.
their hoof.
Hmm.
And it did look like you could just like flick it off kind of.
Yep.
But horses, they're also a hooved animal, obviously. And so when they're born, their hooves are really soft and they actually are kind of like, they call them like fairy feet because they're a little bit like splayed,
Oh,
sort of. And then it like fills in like really quickly, after they're born so that they can get up and run and,
right.
survive as a prey species.
Hmm.
But these are things that you don't think about, you don't know unless you are there and you see it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know. Patrick has gone in his little. I have those snoozer beds. Do you ever use those for your
Are
pigs?
they like a cave bed?
Yeah.
My pigs love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in his little cave right now. His little nose pokes out. It's so
I
cute.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that when you can just only see a snout.
Yeah. It took him a minute to figure it out, but now they like
Mhm.
dive right in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My pigs use them to death. I mean, they
Yes.
they use them until there's rips and I'm like, doggone it, we got to throw this away and get a new one.
Yeah, there's a rip in this one, but it's okay. It's holding strong. Okay, well, thank you for spending this time. I really appreciate it. And being the first guest is so exciting. And, doing the podcast with you and other people was one of the things that inspired me to do this myself because I realized, like, wow, I actually have a lot of connections with people in like the animal world. And like, what a cool thing to be able to talk to all these different people. And there's not a lot of people who know so much about pigs.
Right. Right. Yes. Well, maybe in the future we can do another episode just about pigs
Sure.
because I have a lot to say about
Yes.
pigs. You asked me that and I'm like, okay, which one do I pick and not be super long-winded?
I know. Yeah.
Because I could talk for a really long time. But this
Yeah.
was so fun. I love being able to, first of all, I'm a talker, so I like to talk. I also process while talking. So
Okay.
it was fun to kind of like answer some of those questions and kind of think them through and process them with you. I think you are so smart and I think you are
Thanks.
so nice. And so
Oh.
I was honored to be able to just be on your show at all.
Oh.
And I think it's going to be fun. It'll be one of my new podcasts that I listen
Ah, thank you.
to.
Yeah, well, right away I was like, who should I have for guests? I was like, oh, Autumn. Duh. Yeah,
I'm honored. Thank you so much for asking me.
of course. Thank you for doing this. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Human Animals. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. I'll be back next time to dive deeper into the fascinating world of human-animal connections. Until then, take a moment to appreciate the animals in your life and tell them I said hi. You can get to know me and my animals better and see upcoming guests by following at Brian Kangle, that's BrianKangal on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, bye!